Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's edition of Hot Topics on the KF Leadership Channel. I'm a regular host on this channel, Femi. Today, we bring to you yet another important topic in our discussion series on leadership, governance, and politics. And we'll be looking at a very critical topic that people don't often talk about, which is titled The Advantages of Obscurity. The advantages of obscurity. But before we delve into the subject proper, I'd like to encourage you to click on the notification icons on your screen, to like, to share, and to subscribe to our channel so that you can help spread the message that we perpetrate and expand on this channel to viewers around the world. Yes, obscurity. People have often talked about making the breakthrough, going to limelight, and whatnot. But often we don't talk about obscurity. Those silent, those quiet, seemingly dark days of our development, whether as an individual, whether in our leadership style, whether even in our spiritual work. Those period of quietness, those period of people can say dryness, where things doesn't appears nothing is happening in our lives, where we are like in that what they call the wilderness experience, the desert years, those obscure moments where people don't know us, where people hear nothing about us. What is going on in our lives in those stages, in whatever we're doing in our businesses, in our careers, in our spiritual work, in our private life, those years of obscurity, what is going on? People tend to look at it as a bad thing, as an adverse moment in our life. But truly, those periods of obscurity, those periods where it appears as if we are absent from the screen, we are not in the limelight, those what we call the valley moments, there are lots and lots of advantages, lots and lots of benefits in those obscure moments. And so that is what we intend to address today in this topic. And so we'll be looking at four critical factors when it comes to obscurity. What four advantages that we can gain from being obscure or for a period of obscurity. The first and important advantage of you being obscure, or your process of being in obscurity, is the fact that it helps you to hone your skills. It helps you to develop and practice and manage your skills very well so that you can become better. It helps you to sharpen your skills. Whatever you are doing, for example, if you are a pilot, I know that pilots, before they fly planes, they have a lot of flight hours, maybe thousands of hours trying to fly and getting to use to the process, because it's a very dangerous and risky business or career to go into. So pilots often spend countless number of hours, thousands of hours, to practice, to train very well before they actually now put into before the cockpit to fly people all around, whether it's commercial flight or military or some private work. But obscurity itself, those periods where you are trying to achieve limelight, where it appears as if nobody knows you, what you should be doing is you should be practicing what you're about to do. You should be learning what you're about to do. Practice and practice until you become good. So even when you are attempting, when you think, oh, this is the time, and you go out and you fail, it's not a bad thing. You are just learning what not to do or how not to do those things. But obscurity helps you to get better. You make mistakes and then you develop. You make mistakes and then you develop. You try it this way and then you hit the target, you try another way until you now perfect what you are doing. You are good at it because by reason of use, by experience of trying it over and over and over and over again, you have sharpened your skills. You have developed your skills. You are now more or less like a master at that thing. So obscurity does not mean that you are totally off the radar. It's just a period where what you are trying to do, what you are trying to achieve, has not become well known. And the way God works, God does not really just send people out like that. It tries, if you are really trying to walk with God, it takes you to a process of obscurity and development. Let's take a look at David. David did not just kill the Goliath. When he showed up to kill the Goliath, he didn't just kill the Goliath like that. Because when they brought him before Saul, and Saul was like, "Oh, you are a young boy. You have never done this. You've never fought, gone to battle." But Goliath has been a fighting man all his life. He's been a warrior. You are just a young chap. How can you go and confront a man that has been fighting all his life? And you're a youth. Then David now told Saul what made Saul allow David to go and fight Goliath. He said, when I was in the wilderness, when this was obscure moment, when I was in the bush, where there was nobody there, I will lead my father's sheep and goats and livestock. And when a bear comes, I will attack the bear and I will save my father's sheep. When a lion came, I attacked the lion and I saved my father's sheep. And I said, look, this Goliath too is just like those lions and bears. And lions and bears are very, very fearful and fearsome animals. Even you as an individual, they can rip you. So I rip you apart and destroy and kill. So for David to be able to confront Goliath, he had spent time killing lions and killing bears. And before he could even kill those lions and bears, he had spent time practicing. And the Bible recorded that when David went to face Goliath, he picked up 3 stones. He took the first one on a sling and hit. Maybe that didn't hit. He tried the second one and hit. It didn't hit. But the third one went straight directly to the center of Goliath's head. That takes practice and precision. Because back in then, I want to believe it's either Goliath was putting on a helmet to protect his head, because that's what those soldiers did in the past. So he had a helmet to protect his head. So if he had a helmet, then for David to be accurate enough to hit the center of his head, the forehead, then that means that man has been spent time practicing. Let's even assume that the Goliath didn't have a helmet on. He came in bare because he thought David was just a small boy. I'll finish it. But for a short man to aim at a tall giant and hit the center of his head such that that stone knocked him unconscious, because if the stone had probably hit his body or his hand, that might not have done many effect. If I hit his nose, it might not have done any much effect. But the center of the head, that led to a concussion definitely, and knocked Goliath down unconscious. And because of that, David was able to go and cut off his head, because the Goliath didn't die immediately. Goliath fell down, so he was unconscious. It took special skill for David to be able to hit and target the head. So it shows that David was very, very, very articulate, was prepared. He knew what he could do. He knew if I go to fight the Goliath one-on-one with sword or whatever, I wouldn't succeed. And it was even recorded that Saul gave David Saul's armor so that David could go and attack to protect him and all that. But because David was not used to it, he took off the armor, because those armor will be an hindrance to him. So it was not what he was used to. It was not the skill he was used to. He was used to what? Swinging the stones and the fling with just his natural hands, just his natural body. So the skills he learned over the years, he was able to earn it while he was at the backyard trying to kill animals. Maybe he has attempted to even to throw and hit the fruits, and he missed. He tried that one, he missed, until he was good at it. He became he perfected the sling, throwing the sling, and therefore he became more or less an expert. And when the day of his showing came, when the day of his announcement came, he was able to what? To put into practice what he had perfected. Yes, there was a principle of carrying what he had learned, like we say, backtracking and then using it to defeat Goliath. But the most important thing was the fact that he used the sling. He practiced. There was a skill he had, the skill of swinging and hitting directly. And so that swinging came from the fact that David had spent time practicing, honing, and perfecting his skills on how to throw slings and hit the target. There's a saying that, if you aim, you are trying to aim a target, and you are trying to aim, and you are trying to aim, and you are trying to aim, and you don't fire. By the time the target goes away, you will not be there because you have not fired. When you eventually shoot, what's the guarantee that you're going to hit the target? Because you are just aiming. But if you fire, you miss. You fire, it attempts to refocus again. You fire, it attempts to refocus again, and you fire until you can aim very well. By that time, you have distracted the target. That target may just fall into your range or your range or your range of view or your range of shooting, and then you hit the target. So it is always better during days of obscurity. What you should be doing is to be practicing how to hone your skills, how to speak, how to speak to people in public, how to serve people, how to do whatever you are doing. Start small. Keep practicing, and perfect it. Because on the day of your showing, on the day of your manifestation, it is those skills that you have practiced during the days of obscurity that will help you, and then it just make it big. It's like, oh, it's an explosion. And people say, oh, wow, yeah, he had a quantum leap. Oh, he had a massive breakthrough. No, you have spent time practicing it. If you don't spend time practicing it on the day that you are called to do it, to deliver, there's nothing to deliver because there's no skill. So obscurity helps you to develop your skill. That's the first and important advantage of obscurity. 2, obscurity protects you from unwanted criticism. Unwanted criticism that could be very fatal. You see, in those days of obscurity when nobody knows you, and if you have good people around you, good mentors, teachers, they can correct you easily. A young man, what you're doing is wrong. Don't do it this way. Do it that way. Do it, correct this. The Bible says, so will your change will come. It's line upon line upon line upon line. Precept upon precept upon precept upon precept. A little bit here, a little bit there. So will your change comes. So will your change come. That's what Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 11 or something. So obscurity helps to protect you from what? Unwanted criticism and vicious attacks. Because if you go into limelight and you make advertises, celebrities or people who have been doing well in their life, and they just go into limelight in public view, just one statement, and it's over for them. They carry out what they've built all the years, all they spent all the years to build. It's gone. Just one moment. Nobody wants to hear them again. Nobody wants to listen to them again. People now criticize them and all that. Even though I know there's redemption in Christ Jesus, there's a second chance, third chance. God is God of several chances. But if you don't manage this period of your obscurity very well, if you go out too early, if you launch out too early, that may expose you to what? Unwanted criticism and vicious attacks before you are matured enough, and it can destroy you. It can destroy you. It helps. Even obscurity helps to boost your confidence because you have something to look back on. In the case of David, when David was able to before he went to beat Goliath, he told Saul, he said, look, I have a history. I have a history of killing the lions and killing the bears. I have a history of rescuing animals from the mouth of the lion and rescuing animals from the mouth of the bear. So I will rescue Israel from the hand of this uncircumcised Philistine, who was like a big lion, another form of big bear. So the obscurity there, while he was there, making it. Remember, before David went to see Saul, because what happened was that the children of Israel were fighting the Philistines, and they said, you know what? Instead of us fighting and killing each other, let the Israelite bring one member of the army, and let the Philistine bring a member of the army. Let one person fight man on man, one-on-one, and whoever wins, then the other one that loses will just serve the one that wins, will serve the nation that wins. And that was the agreement. And recorded for several days or even several weeks, the Philistines sent Goliath to represent the Philistines, but the Israelites could not send anybody, and so they were afraid. Because of the sheer size of Goliath and his strength and all that. The Bible records that the children of Israel were stricken with panic that they couldn't come out, and Goliath and the Philistines kept taunting them, and nobody came. So it was happened that on this occasion was when father sent David, the youngest of his 7 sons, to go and give food to his brothers who were already in the army, because by the Jewish law then, all the adult male children of certain age, even up to now, I think once they are 18, they are automatically conscripted into the army. So David's brother were there, and they went into the army. So David was not old enough to go and fight them to be conscripted. I think so. And so David went there to give the food to the children and to his brothers. That was where he heard what was going on in the military camp. And when he went there, he went to his elder brother Eliab, the oldest, and said, "You know what's going on? What is? I heard the story that there's a man here taunting the Israelites, and the king had promised him." The brother rebuked him. That's the point I want to make. His oldest brother rebuked him. That, "You young boy, I know you. You are too adventurous. You want to say you have seen war. You young boy. Who do you leave our father's sheep with? Who do you leave? Who's going to take care of our father? You are coming here to do adults, full-grown men's business. Go back to where you are." He criticized him. But because David had spent time in the wilderness, in the backyard of his father's farm and in the bush, he had developed what you call muscle strength. He had developed experience and skill. So when his brother criticized him, he just simply left his brother and went to other people, and then went to the king, because he had confidence had built up. He didn't just come overnight. So he had to spend time building his skills. So if he had not spent time building his skills, get himself in those days of obscurity, his brother's criticism could have said, "You know what, you're a weak person, leave." So obscurity helps to prevent you from what? Unwanted criticism and vicious attack when you are not ready. Even when the children of Israel wanted to take, when they were entering the Canaan to conquer the Canaan, and they were trying to attack one after the other, God told Joshua, he said, "Look, you cannot take all this territory all at once. You will take it gradually, little by little, stages by stages. Because if you take it all at once, I can give you. But if I give it to you all at once, by the time you clear all of them, the land is so vast. You are not large enough to occupy those areas. The trees will grow back quickly before you. The forest will go back to you. Wild animals will come back there, and they will overpower you, and they will destroy you. They will eat up your population. So you have to take it. Otherwise, the attacks will be too much on you guys, and you can't be. Then I'll have to spend the time you guys trying to rush yourself, reproducing and building your family again and your nation at a time that may not be commensurate with the pace of the natural growth and development in that land. So it's little by little. So obscurity prevents you from what? Unwanted criticism attacks until you are ready, until you are strong enough, until you are capable enough. Even Jesus Christ, the Bible tells us that Jesus Christ gained wisdom and obedience by the experience, by what he learned. At a time when Jesus was about to be born, Jesus was sent to Egypt. He was obscure, so that they could not destroy him. Because Herod had given out the proclamation, go after any young child born, I think with a certain age, maybe that age of 3 or 4, and kill everybody. And so his father had to put him. And when I had to hide him in Egypt. And when the time was ready, when Herod had died and gone, God instructed Jesus' father, Jesus' spirit, bring him back into the land and let him continue to grow. And it was recorded that Jesus Christ spent the first 30 to 29 years of his life working, learning. He didn't start his ministry until he was 30 years old. And within 30 to 33 years old, then he launched his ministry. But during those periods, you can see what was happening in the life of Jesus Christ. Some people, of course, they knew him, but it wasn't public. He spent 30 years in obscurity, praying, practicing the miracles, and all of that, until it was time for him to ready. And when it was time for him to ready, he did it just in 3 years, and he had accomplished his mission. So obscurity prevents you from unwanted criticism and very vicious attacks that may destroy you before you are actually ready for the full manifestation. Another thing obscurity does for you is that it helps to prevent you from wasting time. You don't spend time doing things that you're not supposed to do. Because during the periods of obscurity, you would have, oh, this is the way I need to go. You have tried it and you failed. This is where I need to go. You tried it and you failed. That's the way, and you fail. So because of the experience you've had, you know how to do whatever you are doing better. So it helps you to not waste time. Let's assume you want to go for an interview now, and you've never been there before. Did I give you the address? And you think, thank God for GPS and all that. But if it's somewhere you have gone before several times, you have been there over and over and over again, even when they wake you up, you know how to get there. But if you have never been there, if you don't know the place, you don't know the area, you'll be fretting. You'll be looking for the GPS to drive you, and you'll be driving. But if it's a place you have been going several, you don't even need the GPS. You just go there, just drive yourself there or take yourself there. You can even tell them, you know what? I don't need to drive. I'll get on the bus or I'll get on the train, because you are familiar with that time. And then you don't waste time turning around and looking at things, because you know how things work there. So obscurity helps to prevent you from wasting time. Because if I just try something for the very first time, you may not get it right. It may not be the best. But if you have done it over and over and again, you have practiced over and over again in those areas when nobody knows, where you can make mistakes, it helps to prevent you from making mistakes and wasting time going wrong turns. There's a saying that the best form of learning is experience, which is true. The best form of learning is experience, because your experience would have told you that. Even according to Romans chapter 12, I think verse 1, it says, brother, I beseech you to not conform yourself to the part of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And from your own experience, you'll be able to know what God's pleasing and perfect will is. From your own experience. Because you've tried it, oh, this is not working. You tried it, it's not working. So once you get into the situation, into the scene, you know where to go. And I still take the case of David. I'm sure David, if somebody else wanted to fight Goliath, they would have said, okay, let's cut his leg because he's tall, let's cut his leg. No. But the experience told David that, look, this is a big man. Let me lay him for the head. Let me hit him for the head. And he tried it. I'm sure Goliath wasn't thinking about the head. He was like, who is this boy? Oh, I'm just going to cut him. I'm just going to kill him in a second. But David, being smart enough, having experienced, knowing that this is what I need to do, I need to kill, because I can't fight him and get him one-on-one. David would have been a dead man. He went for the jugular. He went for the head straight. And he was able to knock him down. So it helps to prevent you from wasting time. I think there's an adage that says that old people may not be wise. They may not know anything, but they definitely know what does not work. Or they definitely know what's never going to work. And that's based on experience. In my local parlance, in my local dialect, Yoruba language, it says that when a child is trying to cut a tree and fell a tree, by the way the child holds his hands and slants the tree, those who are older there, the elderly people there, who can tell, okay, this is where this tree is going to fall. This is where this tree is going to fall, because of the experience in seeing how trees have been fell. But the child that just started may not understand. So obscurity, when you're trying to eat it, when you're trying to become who you are and mold yourself into what God has called you, or be molded to what God has called you to, when those periods of obscurity helps you to what? To manage your time and not to waste your time making wrong turns at the point when you get into manifestation, because you've built up experience to prevent you from wasting time and going to wrong directions that may not lead you into the right path that God has for you. So embrace the spirit of obscurity. And the last thing that I think is most important that obscurity do for you is that it helps you to make mistakes when it's not costly. That is one advantage of obscurity. Obscurity helps you to make mistakes when it's not costly. Because you are young, you are starting your career, they'll give you small level of responsibility, and you can make mistakes, and it may not be fatal. Okay? But when you get to limelight, if you have done your obscurity days very well, you have learned, you have gone through the mill, you have gone through the process, you are now well refined, you are better at what you do, you understand it. That's why they call you a professional or an expert in your field. So when they bring the challenges to you, you can easily navigate it. You know, because on during days of your obscurity, you have made those mistakes and you have learned from those mistakes. If you do it at a bigger stage, it could be costly. Just as if David now decides, no, let me go and fight the Goliath. I want to go and hit the Goliath and kill the leg, cut the Goliath's leg, or try to eat Goliath in the body. David had eventually put the whole of his nation, his generation, into bondage. But because he has spent time in obscurity, practicing and knowing what works and what doesn't work, he went for the jugular and he gave great victory. The victory he had, killing a lion is big victory. Killing a boar is big. A boar is a bear is big victory, but nothing compared with killing your greatest enemy, your arch rival, and causing your own nation not to go into subjection. Because if David had failed, the whole of Israel would be what? Would be slaves. You know what that means? They will cross him, curse his father, curse his mother, just like what is happening in Palestine and now. You know, people are still cursing them as well. Why did you bring this trouble upon us? So obscurity helps to prevent you, helps to make you, helps you to make mistakes when it's not costly. Imagine you are the you have first level employee, entry level employee, and they give you responsibility, a budget, maybe a budget of $10,000 in your department or whatever. And you know, maybe in terms of investing, and they actually invest, and you invest it and you lost $10,000. You know, or they give you even $100,000 portfolio in a multilateral company that is worth billions of dollars, and you lose $100,000 in trading stocks. That's how name is made. It doesn't mean that you have embezzled anything. It's just probably the trading business platform did not go well. I mean, people will complain. Some people will lose, but the $100,000, $10,000, it's not much of a thing. But imagine you become the CEO of a multilateral organization, a company worth $20 billion, or $120 billion, $100 billion, and they not give you $50 billion to invest, and you traded and you lost $50 billion. Do you know the consequence of that? $50 billion, you know the lives that is dependent on that $50 billion that you put into jeopardy. You know? And it could be a simple mistake that you overlook because you've not been skilled at doing it. Because you didn't put contingency plans in place to militate against the eventual mistake or loss. And these things you may not know until you gather the experience over the years. So in your moment of obscurity, it helps you to make mistakes when it's not costly. I just shared in the video that where people, you have politicians or people who have been doing very, very well in their careers. They've been upwardly mobile and people know them, but they're not gotten the limelight. And then they get into a position of leadership. I think it was the case of a particular Republican speaker who was about to be a politician, was about to be made a speaker. He had developed good, excellent credential. But just before the vote was supposed to take place, he made a preference and he made a fundamental blunder and error. And what happened? They took him away. Simple error. Just a statement. It wasn't that much of a grievous statement. People said, no. And that's the end of the I've never heard of that. I don't think he's even in Congress anymore. This was someone who was on the verge of becoming the third most powerful person in the United States of America. Just a simple error. So, I believe if you had spent time, preparing how to talk and all that, you probably would not have made those mistakes. Or that mistake in speech. So, obscurity helps you to make mistakes when it's not costly, where people can overlook it, so you can learn. And then you become better at it. The moment you keep trying, practicing, then you hone your skills and you are now a better person, or quote unquote an expert in the field that you are involved in. So I hope with these few 4 points that I've shared, you are able to get an understanding and appreciate the value of those obscure moments, those lean moments, those years of wilderness or desert experience that nobody knows you, and you are wondering, oh, what will happen to me? What can happen to me? No, Those period is a period for you to learn, to hone your skills, even to protect yourself from unwanted criticism, to make mistakes and learn from them, and to help you to prevent you from making costly mistakes. If you do it right, you learn the lessons of the road. And the way I know what God does not just launch you into it. It takes time to take you through the process. It takes time to take you through the process. And when you learn what is right, you build your skill, you develop a skill very well. At the right time, God will show up for you. And those lessons you have learned would help you prevent you from making bad mistakes, helps you to avoid wasting time, helps you to avoid to say things that will bring unwanted criticism that can destroy you, and even also helps you to develop those skills that become a perfect person. All those will come to play at your moment of manifestation, and then you'll be better for it. Thank you.